Hey, what's up you guys? I'm back again, hopefully making you guys a video. This is a lot more nerve-wracking than I thought it was going to be when I originally thought of this idea, but yo, stage fright to a camera is a thing apparently. So today I wanted to talk about starting a drawing and dealing with a blank piece of paper, coming up with ideas, finding inspiration, and using the internet to your best ability as a source of inspiration, and how to go about doing that. I'm on a couple different sites, but mainly I've kind of stuck to Tumblr because it's pretty open. It's a good community, I think, for the most part. I haven't really come across the bad parts of Tumblr because I guess I avoid it. But for the most part, Tumblr's a good spot. I have a lot of people who I've met and interacted with on there, and it's been really useful. But what I use Tumblr for the most, other than showcasing what I've done and having it as kind of my online gallery, is inspiration and finding images that inspire me to do my own artwork and inform what I'm working on. So today I have a drawing that I need to do for a thing that I'm working on that I'm not going to get into because it's boring. But I need to do a woman or man, doesn't really matter actually at this point. I've been drawing a lot of women lately, so I just automatically thought woman. I need to find something to kind of spark an interest. I'm thinking I might do something spooky or creepy because I'm kind of in that kind of mood. I haven't done a drawing that's creepy in a while. I've been doing very kind of cutesy stuff lately, but I like to do both. So I'm just kind of, I'm not going to show you guys what I'm doing on the computer, but what I've been doing for a little while is just searching some keywords of something that I'm feeling kind of interested in today. Like maybe witches or something creepy like a zombie or whatever. So when you start, especially if you're not sure what you want to do and you're like, oh, I really want to make art today, but I don't know what I want to do, sometimes just thinking really selfishly, like, what am I in the mood for today? What am I interested in today? If you just think about things that you visually are attracted to and maybe pick one for the day that can inspire you. I haven't really found a good reference picture for anything yet today, but if for some reason you're really drawing a blank on what you want to draw, you can maybe find something online or in a book and just be like, alright, so I'm going to use this kind of as a launching off point. And just be inspired by it. Of course, don't like copy it line for line or anything like that, but if you want to reinterpret something, the other day I found a picture for that picture that I did the speed run of, or the sped up version of. I found a girl that had her hair in like those two little buns like that and kind of had like an ombre kind of look. And I was like, oh, that looks real cute, and decided to kind of do a character based off that hairdo, basically. So that's where she came from. And then I was looking for clothes for her, got kind of in like the pastel goth area of Tumblr and was scrolling around and was like, all right, let's find some cute clothes or whatever. And I think I came across a girl that had those skeleton leggings. I was like, oh, those would go really well with this girl's kind of overall look, and slapped those on, and then the rest of it was pretty much whatever to just go with that style. So I usually start sketching with a colored pencil. This is just like a cheapo Crayola colored pencil in the color tan. Usually I'll use a lighter color, but I've been like this one, which is just a mango. So it's like a yellow-orange. It's really light on the paper. That's what I use to start. In that speed drawing, you can see kind of a very faint outline of the girl before I started recording. you couldn't really see it very well, so I didn't include the part where I drew that girl out in this color, because you guys wouldn't have been able to see it. So I started the recording when I relined it with like a kind of mahogany color. So I used to sketch in pencil, which, you know, a lot of people obviously do that. That's kind of the norm. But I find pencils, whether it's your expensive, nice grade pencils of different weights and everything, or if you're just using a mechanical pencil like this guy, which is what I usually gravitate towards because you don't have to sharpen it all the time, and you know, it is what it is. But I started using colored pencils. They're a little bit more permanent sometimes. You can really erase a pencil completely. Colored pencil kind of like will stick around a little bit, so it does kind of train you to be a little bit more careful about where you're putting your lines. But you can erase it. Like technically, if I, you know, this is a chunky eraser from a bank that works well. It's got a good eraser in it. If I wanted to erase something like this shoulder, I didn't like it or whatever, it does go away enough that I can redraw that if I want to. But I did like that shoulder, so I'm going to put it back. So I usually just, I'm doing a head, chest, and torso for this character, so she's a little bit more zoomed in than the first drawing that I did the other day. This girl here, which is the one that I did the speed drawing of. I don't know where the other girl, oh, she's in my scanner, which is under some stuff right now, but I did another girl the other day that was to like the thigh, the mid-thigh up, and this girl's going to be from the waist up. And what I'm doing these for is I'm going to open commissions soon on my Tumblr, and I wanted to have examples for people to look at of the kind of style, material, and price point kind of things. Like each, if there's less of a character in the commission, it's going to be less money, obviously. So I'm just giving visuals for people just so that they know what that's going to kind of look like. And I wanted to start doing things traditionally again. I've been doing digital stuff quite a bit within the recent past, and it has its pros and cons, obviously, like everything, but it does take a really long time, and I kind of get frustrated with it sometimes. It has that kind of feeling of like it's not quite fast enough for me to get what I want on the paper or on the screen done in a timely fashion, so I get a little bit edgy sometimes when I'm doing, especially when I'm doing line art. I really want to get to coloring sometimes when I'm doing digital art, because you do have, like, you know, access to every imaginable color, and that's a pretty exciting concept. But, you know, there's limitations when you're doing traditional, but the limitations kind of end up helping you a little bit kind of come up with, I don't really know where my brain's going with that, but sometimes restrictions are good, is basically what I'm trying to say. Sometimes if you're like, well, these are the colors I have, these are the markers I have, or this is the pen that I have, you know, you kind of make that work for you. So I'm just sketching out, you know, an idea. I don't know what I'm doing yet. It's just kind of a generic body at this point, with like kind of wide set hips, no chest yet. I don't know if she will have one. I'm not even sure the gender of this character yet. As of this point, I don't really have a concept. I'm just kind of letting it happen, which I think is something that every artist should do from time to time, because, you know, sometimes, you know, when you're doing commissions, or if you're doing a project where you have like a set character cast or whatever, you're drawing, you know, pretty predictable stuff all the time, and or you're being told what to draw, and sometimes it's good to just let your brain make something up as it goes. I think it's a good exercise for your brain. Sorry if you hear my dog. Yeah, someone just pulled into my driveway and she's going to growl at them and bark. So we'll just ignore that. I live in an apartment, so it's a duplex. The upstairs neighbor comes home and we can hear every noise, and my dog has not gotten over it yet in the last 3 years that she's been here. I don't think she ever will. For anyone who might wonder, she's a 4-year-old pit bull, and she's a sweetheart, and she's my child, so. Wah. Wah. She's actually doing pretty good right now. Usually she's losing her mind. So sometimes you just gotta stop and stare at what you've done and you're like, alright, what next? What's going on with this guy? This is pretty mannequin-esque right now. And that's kind of how everything starts. I've done it like a rough outline of everything. I've found my shapes kind of inside the joints. I usually put circles where the joints are just so that they're lined up. A little box, kind of like a trapezoid actually, where the chest goes. I gave this person kind of a corseted waist a little bit. And that's just where it's going to stop there at this little shape here. Did that little X marks the spot thing, little crosshairs in the face. Man, they're loud. And my dog's also loud. The whole family that lives upstairs, they talk like they're yelling and arguing, but they're really not. Like, sometimes my husband and I hear them and they're like, oh man, someone's getting the 3rd degree up there, and then you eavesdrop a little bit, or you hear some words and they're like talking about the weather or like a movie they watched, and it's like, man, they talk like they are just screaming at each other. And that's just their natural level. That's just their natural tone, I guess. I think they're leaving, so my dog will calm down. She just likes to let me know that people are outside. She's kind of guard dog mentality, I guess. It can get annoying, but I appreciate it in the end because we've actually had people try to walk in one of our doors from the road because we live on a busy street, and that was terrifying. And she actually, if she hadn't been around, we would have had to deal with rando in the house. So, terrifying thought, but definitely a perfect dog for that kind of situation. Alright, so I just added ears, because I'm kind of into these big dopey ears with these little... I've drawn ears in a bunch of different ways in the past, and I think I finally kind of like these ones. It's good if you can come up with like a unique inner ear shape. I've seen a lot of different ones, and I think I got inspired by seeing ears kind of similar to this, and I tried them out and I was like, ah, yeah, that's really cute. Alright, so this is a very symmetrical person, not a very interesting pose, but that's what my brain kind of gravitates towards for some reason. Back when I was in college, I went to a 4-year art college. They talk a lot about, you know, like dynamic poses and, you know, having your character look, you know, dynamic. And this whole thing, which was actually really helpful, and they're totally right. Like, your characters should be dynamically posed when appropriate, I think. I also just think I gravitate towards really kind of stagnant poses, or like really kind of awkward facing the viewers and staring them down kind of characters. I don't know why, but I also really like religious iconography type stuff, and that's always very like symmetrical and elegant and kind of stares down at you kind of thing. So I always gravitate toward that, and I always like kind of make a symmetrical looking shape and character that's kind of front and center. I do that a lot. And that's okay, you know, like if you've got something that you kind of gravitate towards and you're just having like a draw for yourself kind of day, which this is for me, if you're doing something that's not necessarily like, you know, what a professor would tell you you should be doing or whatever, that's really fine. It's all kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You do you, you know, like you you know, whatever you like to do, even if it's considered, you know, not right or whatever. Especially when you're in art school, they'll tell you all of these, like, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, you know, you can't have this happen, these colors are bad, or, you know, you can't draw in that style, or, that's all just technically bullshit. Like, yeah, it's good to have some guidance, and, like, there are things that, you know, the masses probably wouldn't like to see as much. You know, I've seen some pretty ugly art out there, we all have, but there's kind of like that whole concept of, bad art, good art, is this bad, or is this good, or, you know, it's all opinion, you know, like everything, it's pretty much opinions. Something that someone might call ugly art or bad art, someone else might fucking love. So, you know, it's an opinion. You can point people in the right direction. I've seen some videos on YouTube that are like, how to do it wrong, how to do it right, and the comment section was just like a shitstorm of, like, you know, you can't tell people how to make their art, and, you know, you can't this and that. And I found myself on the side of, like, yeah, that you can do bad art. Like, there are things you shouldn't do, and there's things that make better artwork, and it's kind of a universal truth. But then when I thought about it again, later, I just found that the people who are saying that, you know, no, there's definitely right and wrong ways, and, like, you know, you shouldn't ever do these things, like, let people learn that themselves, you know, because they'll find it out. You know, everyone goes through stages in their own life, and there's, you know, I'm still learning, I'm still going through stages, I still don't do everything right by any means. You know, I still find flaws in my own stuff, and I'm sure other people find flaws in my stuff, but they either, you know, like it anyway, or they don't really notice it. And if you're like a young artist, if you're still learning what you like to do and who you are and all that, make mistakes, because if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning from them. You know, that's tale as old as time. That goes for every profession, every avenue of life. You try something out. If it looks bad to you, you don't do it again. If it looks good, you do it again. That's how you learn. If you haven't noticed that it looks bad to yourself yet, you will. You know, there'll come a day down the road, you'll look back at what you did in middle school, you'll look back at what you did in high school, or even college, or young adulthood, and last year, last month, last week, you'll look back and you'll say, wow, that isn't what I was going for. I don't like this, or whatever part of a drawing, and you just don't repeat that. You know, that's how the development happens. That's how we learn. That's some pretty cliche advice right there, but it needs to be said, I think. There's a lot of people who have come to me, who ask me questions, have said stuff along the lines of, like, I don't feel good enough, I feel inadequate. There are so many artists who are better than I am out there. How am I ever going to even have a place in, you know, the global world art community? And I just tell them, like, you know what? That's true. You know, there are going to be people who are better than you. Always, no matter who you are. And there are going to be people who are, you know, older than you, more advanced, who have been doing it longer than you, who are, you know, they have different training, or they've been working hard every single day to get better, and maybe you just haven't done that exact same thing, and you're not them, so don't compare yourself to other people. And that goes for every avenue of life, regardless of what you're doing as a career. You know, you're you have your experiences, and you're the only person in the world who is you, and who's going to make your artwork or your creations. So just think about that, and think about what you can bring to the table with your unique life experience. And your unique interests, because I feel like your art, especially if you're an artist that kind of does fine art type stuff, or like you draw what you want to draw and that's it. You know, I think that's a beautiful thing, and if you can get to a point in your life where you're making art that other people want, you can literally just sit down and be like, what am I gonna do today? Today I'm gonna draw whatever the fuck I want, and people are gonna buy it. You know, that's a great place to find yourself, but that takes a lot of time and a lot of work. It's not something that you wake up into, you know. It doesn't matter if you've gone to college or not. That's another thing that I learned going to college, is that college doesn't really matter, unfortunately. Because somebody can stay at home and just draw every day and, you know, learn things the hard way, or learn by doing. And like, yeah, you might make some bad artwork for a little while there. You might, you know, not have formal training, or I think the most important part of going to an art college is just the drawing classes, how to draw from life and how to draw shapes, things like that, which is a lot harder than it sounds. So if you're like, hey, should I go to art college? Should I go to art school? Should I go to university? I'd be like, test the waters by going to like a drawing 101 class and learn the skills that you learn in that class, because, you know, I took 4 years, I took a bunch of classes, and when I think back to it, that was the class that really was irreplaceable, was your drawing from life classes. And if you can't afford college, you know, you can still draw from life. You can still set up still lives for yourself. There's plenty of resources on YouTube, you know, tutorial type things on YouTube. There's you know, endless possibilities in this day and age for you to self-teach. And at the end of the day, what's going to make you stand out above the person next to you, whether they have a degree on their wall or not, is how good you are, or how not even necessarily how good, it's how much you've done and how far you've come. And if people have an interest in what you're doing. And of course, this didn't end up being creepy at all. This is also really cute, so slap some eyeball earrings on her, right? That'll work. God, this is such like I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm kind of distracted because I'm talking, but maybe that's a good thing, because I don't really hate this drawing or anything, but it's a little weird. I don't really know what's going on. But yeah, that's pretty much my rant for the day. It's not really what I set out to talk about, which I probably shouldn't set out to talk about things, because that's not really how my brain works, I guess. Inspiration-wise, I would just say find a bunch of things that you like. One of the best things I ever did was make like an inspirations folder on my computer. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's art or a photo. Just grab stuff that you like whenever you see it offline and slap that in a folder. You should be good. I keep drawing people with long hair lately. I think it's because I'm growing my hair out. My roommate just woke up. I hear her. So yeah, that's probably all I'm going to record for today, because this is already a 25-minute long video. I was thinking more of like, oh, 15 minutes is a comfortable length, let's try to cut it off there, but I just had to get into a rant. Which this is pretty much what these videos are going to consist of, is just me talking about stuff, talking about my experience, talking about making art, creating stuff, how hard that can be sometimes. What is up with that? Bang. It's too long. And drawing, and you guys can watch And that's probably going to be it for right now. I might make a part 2 of this, because this is definitely just the beginning stages of this drawing, and she's not really fully actualized in any real way. I didn't even do her forearms yet. But yeah, that's pretty much good enough, I think. And sorry that I'm kind of monotone. I'm trying to stay a little bit quiet because my house does have people in it and all that jazz. So hopefully in the next video you guys can watch me continue to work on this one, continue to blab about stuff. If you guys have any questions at all, please ask, because it'll help me, you know, have a direction in what I'm talking about and saying. And in the meantime, we'll also be answering your questions. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye, and I hope that you come back for the next part of this, or the next step in this drawing. Alright, that's going to be it. Bye!